They've got a big operation. It's where I have my powder coating done as well.
Motor is off like a quarter of an inch.
So I've got my metal rolled down at Ross's. My friend's been down there. I've got it marked here so I can have a diagonal. And I'm going to bring this step that I'm building into here down to the inner bar between the two frame rails. So I've got it marked. What I'm going to do is cut it out now, but that's going to give that old square looks and dimension and a little bit of 3D to it. Kind of exciting. Wasn't liking how my piece was fitting in that I cut out to put in there. So I cut another piece and just bent the ends up to lay in there. I got to trim it to fit inside here. And then I'll put a back on it here. I'll put a step in there. I've welded here and here. I just want to fit it and make sure it's right on and off easy. If you get a little warpage, the last thing you want to do is weld that thing up and then it not be able to get on there. It's going to work good. I'm going to go ahead and make this weld along here. This weld here could warp you if you don't fasten it down to something solid. These were the two holes that were on the hook that come down here that Jeep puts on the frame. So I'm going to use that same hole pattern and put holes on the other side because the other side doesn't have those holes. But I put a plate inside here and marked it according to the holes that were on this side. And then I can use these holes as a template right here so I know where that plate's centered. Plus, I cut these holes on the other plate and cut these holes from this plate on the other plate. So I can tell exactly where those holes got to be so they're even with the other side, and I can set that in there and line these holes up, and it tells me when I set this here on the outside exactly where those holes got to be. So I'll drill them in that frame, and then I can bolt these plates in and then weld them to the bumper, and that will work as my bumper mounts. So I've marked holes on the end of the bumper that I can drill through because I want to be able to plug weld into the bracket that's going to be sitting in here bolted in, and that will put me with the brackets bolted in place and the bumper sitting on it, and these plug welds in holding the bracket to the bumper, and then I can pull it out and reinforce it, but that way I know the bumper's welded in the right spot on the brackets. When I'm welding things in place like a bracket on something that's going to slide in here and fit, I always put a washer in between the bracket and where it's got to fit, because I can always suck it into the bolt. But you get that too tight that it won't fit in there, and you'll fight it and fight it. But if you give yourself just a little bit of spacing, and you're going to get some movement when you weld it, those washers in between where it's going to go will really save you some hassle later. I've got my brackets bolted in place like I want them when the bumper's bolted on. I got a bolt in the bottom, and I put a spacer bolt in here or a spacer washer, and a spacer washer here as well, just to give myself a little bit of room. And then I'll set the bumper on there, and I'll drill a hole in the face of the bumper so I can reach through there and tack these brackets to that bumper. Then I can slide it out and weld those brackets into the bumper. But this has everything sitting just like I want. I'm gonna reach in here and weld these these nuts onto these brackets, and that way they'll be in place when I go to put the bolts in. We're gonna go in there and we're gonna weld these nuts to the back side of these plates. That'll put them in position to bolt the bumper on. Never be in such a hurry that you can't take time to stop and cover up things like hydraulic rams. In this rear steer, if you get a spark or something on one of those rams, you can damage it, and when it goes in, it'll perforate the seal. We don't want that. So we're covered up good. Nuts tacked in place, brackets are in place. I'm going to drill a hole in the face of the bumper and set it on there and tack weld it to these brackets. And then when I take the bolts out of the brackets and slide it out, that's right where it's supposed to be. And I'll weld it into the bumper. Brackets and bolts to line up on a project like this can be really difficult. I really think when we put this on there, these holes are going to line up with this bracket right here, and we can tack weld that bracket to this face right here, and this is welded together. When we pull the bolts out, we can slide that bumper off and the bracket will come right off with it. Now we have the bumper sitting on there. We've got our holes drilled, and you can see those brackets inside there. We're going to spot weld those to this bumper right here, and then we'll fill that hole up. Nice on both sides. Once those are tacked in, we should be able to pull that bumper off, and our brackets will be in place to bolt right in. Pull that bumper out. This has our brackets right there. Now I'm not going to weld them solid yet. I'm going to tack them in several places just so that bracket don't move on it. Line up good. Now I just need to let this hole down here, but I know right where it is because my bracket's welded inside here, and I can just drill straight down through so that I've got the bottom bumper hole. And then I'll just put a spacer in there to fill that gap so it sucks up tight to the frame. Putting a backing plate on here to kind of finish where it fits with the silk on the roof. I've cut some pieces. Pull this bumper off. These pieces are going to tack right in here and pull this off nice. So I'm just going to tack them in place and catch into that bumper. Well, we got the bumper welded together, got the end caps on, got the D-ring holders on. Everything's looking good. Good shape. Hope we're going good on there. This is the rear bumper we just made. We gotta get some of that back end cut out. Holy cow. Just want my shocks here so I make one cut, but I'm tired of looking at that. I have to whack that out. But the bumper's gonna work. Checking out the rear bumper. Just got it built today. Good. Need to take it off and have it powder coated. It fits on there really nice.